I was just saying to Kyle. So out there, I put the link out for this Google Meet. Maybe nobody will join. I think if anyone does, it might be Lewis. Louis. Does it go by Lewis or Louise? I can't remember.
Louise.
Yeah. He might join. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. So I just put in our Patreon, like, hey, if you guys want to join the meeting and shoot the shit, essentially, go ahead. If not, we'll just record as per normal. But it's not going to go out live. So this is not going out live because there might be a bit of juggling if people join. I don't want to make it live. So it's just
Okay.
I'll edit later.
Ryan was saying there's going to likely be some metaphorical rectal tearing after reading Greg the First's email.
Oh yeah.
Oh, don't look at it. Don't look at it, Katie. Don't look at it yet. I want you to save it for last. So she hasn't read it yet. Okay, I forwarded it to you, but don't read it yet. Do not read it.
Okay.
I haven't read it either. I've just heard Ryan talk about it in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Read the emails in the order I sent them to you from earliest to latest. Yeah. If that makes sense. It was just 3, I think, right?
Yeah. His is the second one sent.
Oh, okay. Do Brian,
So just
Brian Granco, Melissa, and then Greg's.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Melissa your friend?
No,
Or is that a
she's a
different
patron.
person?
She's a patron.
Oh, okay, cool.
So she's. Are we recording?
Well, we are, but we haven't officially
Yeah.
started. But we're recording. But yeah, I can edit
so
things
I
out.
think he's like probably one of the only female listeners, besides me and Kim now.
And my mom.
Kim, I guess, and your mom. Well, my sisters and my mom sometimes
Yeah,
listen to.
they don't
well.
count. Family doesn't count. They're automatic. They're automatic listeners. No, I'm just joking.
Well, cheers, guys, on the season finale, and thank you for allowing me to join this season. So.
You're welcome. Hey, it's been totally awesome to have you. Yeah, I guess we can kind of officially start. So, yay, the party started. Yay! Sound the whistles and the party hats are on. Yeah, so let's get into it. Cue the music. Now, we don't have it yet, but I want to propose something to you guys. So after I say cue the music, I'm going to send to you both. Oh, somebody's joining. A patron's joining.
Oh, I get nervous as shit when people come on the podcast. I don't know.
Right. Just wait. I'm just going to tell Paul. Just wait. Oh, somebody else is joining. Just wait. This is crazy. Got Paul and Patrick from Derby.
Oh, fuck.
So just wait, guys. Don't say anything. I'm just going to mute you guys just for 1 second, okay? Just wait for 1 second. Okay, so that's great. So we just got Paul and Patrick just joined the live chat. That's amazing. I can't believe anyone did. We were just saying, so you guys are listening to it. I was just about to present this to Katie and Kyle, and you tell me what you guys think after I unmute you, okay? I want to send to you guys a karaoke version of Arms Wide Open, and we'll sing it on our own, and then we'll overlay our tracks together, and that will be the season finale cold open for our song. What do you think?
It's a big ask, Brian.
Well, you're recording it by yourself. There's going to be no one around to see you. It won't be visual. It'll just be audio. And I think we all take a verse and then sing the choruses together. We'll overlay our voices together.
Oh my God! How about just the chorus? I could
Nope.
maybe just do. Okay.
No, or you're fired for Creed 2.
Oh.
Okay, so what we're going to do right now, we just have a couple of guests have joined our live finale chat, so that's really exciting. I thought 0 people would do it, but we have 2 that did. We got Paul and Patrick. I'm going to unmute Paul, or Paul, you're going to have to unmute yourself, actually. So I can mute you guys, but you have the power to unmute yourself, so that's it's kind of weird. So, Paul, why don't you unmute yourself and introduce yourself if you want. You don't have to. Give me a thumbs up if you want to. Okay, so why don't you unmute yourself and say where you're from and what you think of the show and anything you want or shit on us, it's up to you.
I'm Paul Schreiber. I started listening to you guys probably about the time the quarantine started in. And I've been a Rocky fan my whole life. I'm from South Carolina, from Lexington. It's right in the middle of the state. Lived here my whole life except for the 4 years I went to Clemson University. And just enjoyed listening to you guys and having somebody to, I guess, talk to about Rocky.
Nice. So where you say you're from again?
From Lexington, South Carolina.
South Carolina, okay. So what's the difference between South and North?
2 different states.
Is there like any...
not a whole lot.
Is like North Carolina kind of like North Korea? It has like a dictator that you guys don't like, or...
No, North Carolina's great. I like visiting that state. So.
All right, well welcome.
Hi, Paul.
Yankee.
Welcome.
Another Yankee. Because Katie, of course, is from Colorado. Yeah, welcome. Okay, now we're going to unmute Patrick. I don't think he's a Yankee. In fact, I think... Well, I'll let him say where he's from because I can't believe he's up. This guy's insane. Okay, so Patrick, go ahead. You got to unmute yourself, I think, buddy. No, I don't think you can hear. So, Patrick, wait 1 second. I'm gonna. You have to unmute yourself, Patrick. See if you can find it. Give you a second. Yes, buddy. No, it's not. It's okay.
You're still muted.
I think you might be looking for the unmute.
Oh.
It's okay. We're not live. This will all be edited for audio.
No.
Oh, there you
right
are.
now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, my name is Patrick. I'm from Germany. So it's in the middle of the night right now. It's about 20 minutes to 4 in the middle of the night. So I had some 2 or 3 hours of sleep. My kids are sleeping right now. My wife too. Yeah, but I'm in the living room, so it's fine now. Yeah, so I'm very excited to be here. I sent you some emails over the last months, and very excited to be here. And I've been a Rocky fan all my life since 85 actually. When I first saw Rocky 4, well, the first Stallone movie was Rambo 1, The First Blood, and I was 6 or 7. My uncles showed me that movie. My parents, of course, were very hesitant to be excited about that when I was 7 to watch that movie. And after that, my Stallone fandom or fanship growth. So big fan and very excited to be here.
Well, that's awesome. So I can't. Oh, got. Just put yourself on mute if you can. There, I think that worked. Okay, so that's awesome.
Hi, Patrick.
Yeah, Germany, 2:30, 3:30 in the morning. You're insane. We should give you a month free on Patreon or something for that. No, just joking.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
All right, well, welcome, guys. And what we'll do is we're going to read some mail right now, and we'll have you guys unmute at certain times throughout the recording to comment on whatever you want. You just put your hand up if you want. I know it's silly, but again, no one can see if you want to say something, then just unmute yourself because it's kind of tricky. If you have 5 people talking, we might step on each other, so we'll just try to keep it flowing that way. But we want to hear from you. That's why you're here. And the first thing we're going to do is we'll read our mail, of course. So, Katie, go ahead and start with that mail.
Okay, so we have one from Brian, and there are some photo attachments, Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Just the photos aren't that great. I shouldn't say that. They're photos of what you're about to say, but yeah.
Mention. Okay. Hello again, Ryan, Kyle, and Katie. This is a short one this time. In episode 15, you mentioned saving my email for the next episode. I mentioned that I think the rapper at the club scene is local. His name is Tone Trump, whose real name is Tony Bryce. You can see his name on the Electric Factory sign. The other gentleman's name on the sign is Joe Conklin, a local Philly comedian. If you heard his impression of Donald Trump, you would swear it was the president himself. You can get great insight from the other emailers, so I wanted to do something different. Looking forward to the fight sequence. Keep punching, Brian.
Okay, so he just what was the name of the rapper? Joe or something?
Tone Trump.
Tone Trump. Okay, he's my
I think you. Yeah,
he's my second favorite rapper named after Tone. I like Tone Loc first. Tone Loc is my favorite rapper. Sorry. Does anyone remember Tone Loc? You remember Tone Loc?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we just got a new guest just popped in. We'll have Luis. He was here for our Rocky Balboa season 6 finale. I don't know if you, Paul and Patrick, if you remember. There's his handsome mug right there, Luis. So you have to unmute yourself, Luis, to talk, and go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners.
Yes, sir. It's Luis Mozo, once again, one of the long-time hardcore fans of the podcast since the olden days.
We're glad you're here, brother. Say again where you're from.
From Houston.
There you go.
And it feels like forever ago you were last on, Louise.
I want to say, and hi, guys. Hi, Kyle. Hi, Ron. Hi, Katie. Nice to talk to you finally. I want to say it was in May or so. When you guys did the finale for the Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, it's like pandemic months though. Those months are longer.
Double
It's like
time.
5 pandemic months is like 6 years in like normal time.
Well, yeah, it's awesome that you're here. So what we're doing right now, Louis, we're just reading the mail, and we're just having people mute while Katie does the mail. And when you want to say something, just kind of put your hand up. Do you want to say something? And we'll stop and let people jump in, because we do want to hear from all of those join us. So thanks for joining us. We got 3 people. I'm amazed. That's great.
Yeah, I'm excited you guys joined.
Yeah. All right, and you guys are gonna love the email that's coming up. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but okay. So Melissa, though, is the next email, right?
Yes. Okay. Melissa K. Hi, Ryan, Kyle, and Katie. I usually comment on Facebook posts and sometimes the Patreon posts, but I don't think I've ever sent an actual email, so here it goes. First off, this is late, but welcome, Katie. Thank you. It's great to hear another female's thoughts and perspectives about the Rocky franchise and Stallone. Sometimes I feel like I'm on an island when it comes to my love for Rocky and Sly. Side note, I think I've made a Rocky fan of my sister-in-law. She's a bit younger than I am. She's 30. So she didn't grow up when Sly was big. She had heard me always rambling about him and the Rocky films and heard my brother always teasing me. I asked her to do a marathon with me as a birthday gift, and she really enjoyed them. Her favorites were 1, 2, 5, and Rocky Balboa, which is the opposite of my brother's favorites. His is 4, then 3. Anyway, she said she wants to watch them again. Okay, on to my thoughts about the latest episode. I agree with Katie that the latest Creed karaoke opening may be the worst one yet. They always are. Scrapple sounds similar to what we have where I'm from called Goetta. But Goetta is made with oats, while Scrapple is made with cornmeal. Goetta isn't too bad, but it does look worse than it tastes. Speaking of where I'm from, Indiana, but close to Cincinnati, Ohio, I pronounce some words terribly. I say crick. We were just talking about that. Sometimes instead of creek. My worst one, though, is warsh. It's a Midwestern thing anyway, I guess. Have you guys heard warsh instead of wash?
Oh, like Washington?
It is, I think, like a country thing.
Oh, I thought it was rule. Like Worcestershire sauce.
No, like instead of wash the dishes,
yeah,
wash. Yeah. Terrible. So she says crick and wash. I vacationed in Colorado last summer, flew into Denver, then stayed one night in Colorado Springs, then the remainder in Breckenridge. I couldn't breathe. I had to buy those cans of oxygen. Plus, I'm overweight and out of shape, which doesn't help, but that elevation change is no joke. However, my dream is to live in Colorado someday, so I would get used to it. I don't think it's bad. Now, about the Creed film, I'm one of those people who would have never watched the Creed films if it weren't for Sly in them as Rocky. So I'm not pleased or even care about the upcoming Creed 3 since there will be no Sly. I may watch it just out of curiosity, but in my opinion, Adonis doesn't have 1/10 the heart of Rocky. Plus, I'm not that excited about Michael B. Jordan's acting. To me, the only plus side is that he does resemble Apollo Carl Weathers a bit. His acting isn't terrible, just nothing that great. But the main reason is that I don't think that Adonis is a very likable character. The only 2 times I really felt any connection or liked him a lot was when he was taking care of Rocky during his cancer battle in this film and in 2, spoiler alert, when the baby was born. I didn't even care that much when he was so beat up in the hospital in 2. Only emotion I felt was feeling bad for how he talked to Rocky. The best parts of Creed 1 is Rocky Balboa, followed by Marianne, Felicia Rashad. I'm not trying to bash the films or MBJ. They're okay films for what they are, just nowhere near the caliber of character development or acting that the Rocky films have. Even Rocky V, which is viewed as the worst Rocky, which I don't always agree with because I think that film gets better as I get older, has a lot of heart with Sage and Sly mirroring a bit of real life into that film. And Tommy Gunn wasn't that bad of an opponent. At least we all remember him, unlike Pretty Ricky Conlon, haha. We hope no one thought I was bashing Creed too much. Looking forward to more of your episodes and great banter. Best, Melissa Nolman. Right. Thoughts on Melissa's email? She shares our sentiments.
Yeah, she does. And I want to be careful here that we don't bury the lead on the next email, but I want to hear from Paul first, if you don't mind. If you want, do you want to share your feelings overall, Paul, on the Creed films? Have we been unfair, or do you disagree with us? And it's funny if you do. I want to hear your thoughts on the Creed film. Trying to find the unmute button. Where'd it go?
I really like the Creed films, not so much as the rest of the Rocky series, but coming up in the fight, I don't want to jump ahead, but I feel like the last round of the fight really ties it all together with the way it ends and the music. I think it's a perfect little tie-in to the rest of the series.
That's good. Yeah, and I guess for behind the curtain, we've already recorded. We finished the film recording, so this is like we're 2 episodes ahead of what's been released. So if that makes sense. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I agree. The final fight was definitely a highlight, and that last round was a highlight. Patrick.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the Creed films. I'm a very big fan of the first one, actually. I mean, of course, it's not, but for me, especially the first Creed is a real Rocky film. So when Creed 1 came out, I really thought, well, this is Rocky 7, right? And I think I like Adonis much more than some of you do. But as I've written in an email, I think it's because Rocky is very close to Adonis, so he likes Adonis a lot, and that's why I think I tend to like him more than other people. And some of my friends who've seen the Creed films too are very indifferent to Adonis, right? And they love Rocky and say, "Oh, but what about your Adonis thing?" And I kind of like him. I like Michael B. Jordan. I think that it's a Creed's 1 season finale, but I think when I think about Creed 2, I think that Creed 2 is a little bit more of a Creed film. So Creed 1 for me was like Rocky 7. Creed 2 is kind of Rocky 8, but more a Creed 2 and then Rocky 8, if you know what I mean, because Sly, I think, has the part of Sly and Rocky in the first Creed is vital, is very important to the story. And I think you have the connection to Rocky, but still, I think it's more of an Adonis story than a Rocky story, although you have Drago in it and all these connections. But I mean, Rocky Balboa is my favorite movie ever. Not only Rocky film, but favorite movie ever. And Creed 1 is my second favorite movie ever. Maybe because also of the time it came out, all the hype about Sly's performance, Oscar buzz, we don't want to talk about that, how that worked out, but the Oscar buzz, all the movie magazines, the websites, all were hyping Creed. The movie was a big success. Because of all of that, I think I'm a very big fan of that movie, because after Rocky Balboa, I really thought that's it for Rocky. And after 9 years, Creed 1 comes out. It's a big hit. Everyone's talking about Rocky again. So I was very, and still am very positive towards that movie.
All right. That's very interesting that you brought up that. It's almost the opposite, because I thought Creed 2 was more of a Rocky film, and maybe because it's a direct correlation with Rocky 4 as a true sequel. In fact, I always said the trilogy within the 8 movies is Rocky Balboa. Rocky 4, a little bit of 5, Rocky Balboa, and Creed 2. You could almost have its own little storyline there. But it's very interesting that you see Creed more as a Rocky film than Creed 2. That's because it's actually the opposite of what I see. But that's what I love about these films is, we see different things, but I think we're all enjoying it for different reasons. That's the beauty of it. All right, Louise, your thoughts on Creed overall?
For the most part, I've been in line with you guys. I'm not a Michael B. Jordan guy. Don't like him in Black Panther either. I think from a physicality standpoint, he brings it. I think the action scenes in Creed and even Black Panther, but especially in Creed, are great. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. Even in Creed 2, after he struggles, he's in the pool. That scene is pretty great, I think. But the acting, there's something about him and Bianca I just don't like. They don't got a hot, It's really what it is. It's just like to me they're unlikable. They seem petty. I don't know. I don't know if petty's the right word, but I just don't. I'm not feeling them. So it's like, yeah, whatever. Just get on with the story. And then the other thing about Creed, I think the screenplay is, while good, I think there are elements of it that aren't careful. So for people like us, we know everything about the Rocky saga. So it's like you have to make sure that you tie all these things up going forward, because that makes the film so much better. Because in the back of your mind, it's like, okay, at least this makes sense, that makes sense. Instead of you're watching the film and you're watching the screen, but you're not really appreciating because you keep thinking, okay, why don't they address this, or is this going to be tied up later, or whatever, So that's kind of my take on the Creed films. But I agree with you too. I think Creed 2 is better. I saw that twice in theaters. The funny thing, too, listening to you guys talk about Creed this season, is with all the other films, I know them at the back of my hand, but with Creed, it's like I'm familiar with it, but it isn't the same. So there's so many scenes where it's like, oh, that's right, okay, this and that. So that's kind of it. I think they don't touch the Rocky films in terms of quality. The other thing I wanted to ask you, since you brought up Rocky 3, I'm a Rocky 3 guy. Like, obviously, I think Rocky 1's great, but I just love Rocky 3, man. Like, it is so entertaining to me. The Hogan stuff. The Mr. T is phenomenal. I mean, I love the scene when, they're in a press conference, what'd you say, paper champion later on, all that. So it's just like, I don't get why more people don't appreciate that, but they love 4. We've talked about 4 before on Facebook or whatnot, and you love it, but you also recognize what it kind of is. There's a lot of montages, and it's junk food, but it's awesome. And so for me, it's like, why doesn't Rocky 3 get more love? So
that's a good point. It's kind of like the redhead stepchild of the Rocky series. It really is. Nobody hates really part 3, but it doesn't.
No, the redheaded stepchild is 5 for most people.
No, that's
right?
like, well, that's even worse. Redhead. That's like you don't even invite this guy to dinner. Like, like
I liked 3. I very much. It's entertaining. It's very entertaining. You have issues with Clubber, don't you, Ryan?
Yeah, I just don't like. No, I'm sorry. I think Clubber. No, I'm just. I think Clubber is. He's too much of a caricature. I think he's just too much of a caricature. Like, whereas Drago is too in many ways, but because he's just so menacing and so quiet, it plays better for me. But 3, in some ways, I don't know, it jumps the shark so quickly compared to 2. So I think with 4, because I guess 3 did the dirty work from jumping the shark. You know what I mean? That when 4 came along, we're already kind of used to this 80s type of popcorn Rocky. And so Rocky 4 just made it really cool. The synth music and the Drago and the killing of Apollo. Whereas 3, for me, the train in the hotel of ill repute and the bubble machine, and even though we know this is supposed to be silly, it was really silly. It was like very 80s, like Meatballs, Porky's Revenge type silly. It just looked very 80s, very terrible. But that's my opinion.
I didn't like the first half of 3, but I like the second half of 3.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Like I like Rocky having to struggle in his own head and kind of face the fact that he's afraid. Like that kind of stuff in 3 was cool, but like I agree that like the bubble machine and that shit was.
Running on the beach was good.
Oh well, and
I
love
watching
3.
Apollo's bulge and shit, and
I guess I'm looking at it totally as a film critic, which I don't really do with these films. But it's the first 2, and Katie, you said the first 2 are really like one film. You can't really love 1 and not love 2. It's really a continuation. You can almost watch it as a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
It's just because it's really Rocky's Redemption. That's what it was originally called. Part 2 was originally called Rocky's Redemption. You guys should have.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a track listing on the Rocky 2 soundtrack called Redemption, and that was one of the original titles of the film. So it was, and I think I don't know for sure, but I believe Sly wanted part 2 in part 1. Like I think he wanted that rematch in part 1. There was enough time.
I'm glad they did a second movie.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get into Greg the First, our top emailer. He's Patrick still holds the title for top German. But we're now going to have Greg the First, and go ahead, Katie, and read that.
Oh, Patrick, you're the one with the very well organized thoughts. We're always commenting on how well laid out your emails are. You speak better English than we do.
It's the Germans. They're very good at organizing things and putting things where they belong.
That's right, because I'm German. But that's only because it's when I'm writing emails in English, I think I have to do it right, because you are Americans and Canadians. So maybe if I'm writing German stuff, it's all over the place. Maybe just.
No, we love the point form. We love the point form. It's very organized, very good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, please do. Please keep your organization up to par for this show because we're nothing but organized. We're nothing but organized on this show. All right. Go ahead there, Katie. And Greg the First will end the email bag with his thoughts.
Okay. So he says, Ryan, Kyle, and Katie. Well, after my last email where I proclaimed that Creed was pretty much perfect from the training montage to the end of the movie, I was a little disappointed that you spent pretty much the entire montage episode crapping all over the movie. I'm not going to relitigate any of my prior points. You know where I stand. I have always listened to your podcast to celebrate these movies, not to hear you run down anybody involved with the movie that isn't Stallone. That being said, I still appreciate the podcast, even when your opinions diverge so completely, not just from my own, but from what I believe to be the majority of fans. At least you knew in the moment I wouldn't be thrilled. Good luck with the final episode. I won't be joining the live broadcast, but I will pose one possible discussion topic for when you get to the end. How would you rank the Rocky finales? There have been now 4 movies that at the time we assumed would be the last time we see Rocky on screen. Rocky V at the top of the steps with Rocky Jr. Elton John plays Measure of a Man. Rocky Balboa, Rocky visits Adrian's grave, fades to the Rocky steps and Gonna Fly Now montage of everyday people running up the steps. Creed, Rocky and Adonis walk up the steps, look out over the city of Philadelphia. And Creed II, Rocky reunites with Robert and his grandson. For me, it is Creed or Balboa. I think they're both perfect endings for the character. Creed II is pretty good too. Rocky V ending was fine at the time, but looking back now, I'm especially grateful that the series did not end there. Anyway, sorry for starting the email off on a sour note. I wish you all the best. Thanks for letting me vent my frustrations. Greg the First. P.S. Ryan, good job with your Derek Wayne Johnson interview. The two of you have a great report together.
Oh, that's very kind. Yeah.
Ryan, I thought from what you were saying, this is going to be this like huge tirade.
No,
it's like crapping all over us, and it was just going to like rip us apart. But it ended up being, I was a little disappointed that you guys.
I think that was the word.
I think the movie as much.
I think the word disappointed. I think that made me feel bad. I felt bad that we disappointed a listener. Now,
and then we crapped all over it.
Well, and I think
it'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be okay. We redeem ourselves a bit in the next couple episodes.
Now, I will say, in our defense, we don't crap all over everybody that isn't Stallone. Like, I think that we've pointed out a few of the other characters that we thought did a really great job. I think we just really didn't like the relationship between Adonis and Bianca, and that made it hard for us to be invested.
Okay,
but he's.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No,
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. We love Greg, and I know he loves the show. And it's funny because I'm trying to remember the montage episode. We weren't that hard on it, but maybe we were. Maybe we were just feeling extra barbarous. I don't know why.
Salty that day.
Salty. Because our episodes 16 and 17, we were definitely and then the episode that's going to be out before this one, were great. We love the film. We love the ending. I think we had nothing but great things to say. Very little of any criticism at all. It does end strong. The movie does end strong. I think there's just 2 things. I think hearing the thoughts of our guests today and the emails, I think there's just 2 big glaring issues in the Creed film. Michael B. Jordan's acting and their relationship of characters between Michael and Bianca. Between Adonis and Bianca. So that comes down to the writing, which is Ryan Coogler, and maybe the actual chemistry of the actors. We did talk about in Creed 2 that, and I remember feeling this way. I look forward to investigating it again when we get to season 8. That I felt that the Bianca and Adonis characters were more likable. That their relationship felt more natural, and that again probably might have reflected that the actors were more comfortable with each other, and that just translated to an on-screen performance. Or the direction by Stephen Cable Jr. allowed them to be that way. Who knows how much power? I don't know. I'm not an actor. I don't know how much power the director has in making an actor feel better about their role. So, but for analyzing Creed Part 1, there's something about Michael's acting. And Lewis brought up about Black Panther. He's a weak part in that film. Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace. Amazing actor, great charisma, but Killmonger, the bad guy, was he written poorly? Again, if he was, it was Ryan Coogler that wrote that movie. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Something about Michael's acting leaves me wanting we go to movies to be entertained, and just because they're on screen doesn't mean we're going to like everything. We've all been to movies where we don't enjoy every acting performance. And I think Michael B, for me, for whatever reason, isn't Carl Weathers, isn't Mr. T, isn't Paulie. All these characters have this personality and charisma that comes through the screen, and he just seems dry. And I wonder what Creed would have been like had they got Chadwick Boseman to play Adonis. I don't know. Thoughts?
Well said.
Am I off my rocker here? So I think the Creed.
One sec.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So I'm not trying to defend our criticism of the film, but I think at the end of the day is, I like Creed. Rocky is or Stallone / Rocky is the highlight of the film. And I'll say it again. I think it's Sly's best acting. He's amazing in that film, but maybe he's so good that everyone else seems to be overshadowed. I don't know. It's a combination of a lot of things. Maybe I don't know. Kyle, you're gonna say something. Then we'll have Louise.
I just don't want to forget about his question at the end.
Yeah. We'll talk about his talking points because those are very good.
We'll come back to it. Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Louise.
Yeah.
Like you're saying earlier, man. If it was someone else in the role, perhaps they would have captured it. There's just something about him, man. Like the unk. It's like, ugh, like shut up, you know? Like why? Like he could have said anything else. Like Rock is fine or whatever.
Champ.
You know, it's just something about Michael B. Jordan, man, that just when he's acting, it just comes across as, I don't know if it's just trying too hard or just, I just don't. It seems unlikable. But whenever he, like I said, once again, in the physical, when he's like, seems like he lets go physically. I mean, not let's go physically. Like he gets into those roles, and I can appreciate him more when he's like intense, in doing something action wise. But when he's trying to convey like, human emotion in the conversation, it's just like, ugh, like let's get on with the story kind of thing, which is ridiculous because in the rest of the actual Rocky series, we love, all the interaction that happens in the films, so. Yeah.
Good point about his physical ability. You're absolutely, that is actually something we didn't talk about very much, is that, definitely his look. We did mention his look. He has incredible physique, which translates very well in the Rocky universe. And then his ability in the ring, the way he moves in the ring, he's got a natural grace to him, and his fighting in the ring, is doing the pad work and stuff he's very accomplished physical performer. But yeah, I look forward to seeing his growth. I look forward to seeing the contrast in Creed 2, because it would be a very close analysis on our part of seeing how much more he does or doesn't change as an actor and character. So now we're going to talk about, that's a really great question, Greg, about what is the best send-off for Rocky, because everyone seemed to be like, oh, yeah, Rocky 5 was the ending, and then Rocky Balboa was the ending, and then Creed was, so I think we can honestly say now that Creed 2 is probably the send-off. Katie, what's your favorite send-off of those four? If it had happened to be the last film, which one do you think is the best ending?
So I loved Rocky 5 at the time as well, partially because it really pulled at your heartstrings with the Measure of a Man song and the black and whites going through it, and you were just like, oh my God, it's over. But now having seen Creed 2, where he meets the grandson and reunites with his son, really ties the perfect bow on it for me.
Yeah, I'll echo you in Creed 2. That scene with him with Milo Ventimiglia. Yeah, I know. Your heart fluttered when you saw him, right, Katie? So when he opens the door and grandson Logan's at the door and Rocky says, he's got your mother's eyes. Like, oh, like how do you? Yeah, so that's probably like I can't watch that scene without welling up like a little baby. And I think him making amends with his son and his grandson, and then the mention of Adrian at the very end, it was a perfect send-off to the Rocky character. That's why I just hope it's over. But I'm going to watch a Rocky 7 regardless, but I kind of hope it's over. I don't know how they could top that ending. Kyle, then we'll go to our guest.
Yeah, I like either the Creed 2 ending or the Rocky Balboa ending. I kind of like the not as much the people running up the steps, which I thought was cool, but like just him talking to Adrian there, like it was kind of like a nice peaceful ending. I kind of like that, and I like Creed 2 a little bit more for the ending because like I felt the same way. Like when he said that Robert's son looked like Adrian, I think that maybe he saw Rocky get a little bit of peace. You know what I mean? Like because he misses Adrian so much, and now there's like someone there who's kind of looks like Adrian. Maybe like in Rocky's kind of reuniting with his family or something. Like it seems like Rocky's kind of he's like I guess like I said at peace. So like to me that's a really good ending. But I thought Rocky 5 was fine. Like that sideshow was great, and there's nothing wrong with the Creed ending either. Like I think they're all good. Like it's just like which one's really the best. But so I'll vote Creed 2 though, even though I actually do prefer Creed 1 as a movie over Creed 2, like we've talked about. I'm in the minority there maybe, but I think the Creed 2 ending probably edged out the Creed 1 ending just a little bit.
All right. Luis?
Yeah, I love the Rocky 5 slideshow. But I think Rocky Balboa has the best ending. I remember watching it in theaters. Like, yeah, even like as he's walking out of the ring, I think some of the Rocky movies start. I forgot which is it. Fanfare. It starts playing, and it's like it overcomes you. You're like, oh wow, like because when I watched the movie, like having some reservations because I'm like, oh boy, how are they gonna pull off a 60-year-old man? And it worked. Like I thought it was awesome, and so I really love the way that one ended. How that played out. I did think that was gonna be the end of it, but it was as far as Creed 2 goes. I don't think it makes up for how terrible a father he's actually been. Like it's so ridiculous how bad it is. Like he'll go fly across the country for Adonis, but he can't, talk to his son. It's just absurd. It just doesn't correlate with like how Rocky is. You would think like he'd have like the strongest family bond there is, and it's so ridiculous.
That's a good point. That's a good argument. Yeah, good argument. Paul, do you got?
It was weird that he didn't call him before showing up.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be a surprise. He's being respectful.
I know.
The kid didn't want to talk to him. He was being respectful.
Where's the kid? I don't see the kid. All right, Paul, do you have a favorite false ending?
For me, it was definitely Rocky Balboa was my favorite. I didn't really like 5 that much until I actually listened to you guys break it down. Then a little bit more appreciation. But I felt like at the end of 5, I just needed something more. And I never liked seeing Rocky down. I feel like after all he's been through, he should go out on top. And I think Rocky Balboa he didn't win the fight, but he went the distance with a much younger champion, and I think he was at peace with it, and I think everybody else could be at peace with it after that. And talking about his relationship with his son, I just wonder how much his son allows him to have that relationship, because he's bitter in 5, he's bitter again in Balboa, so maybe he's bitter again because maybe Rocky got some more fame out of the fight with Mason Dixon. So I always kind of wondered if it was even Rocky that broke that relationship. Maybe it was his son. His son did up and move halfway or all the way across the country, actually. So.
To Vancouver. Go British Columbia, Canada. Yeah.
I guess I'm just always on Rocky's side thinking maybe it's not him. Maybe it's just his son. But I could be wrong.
I'm with you on that, Paul. I like to believe that he was just being respectful because the kid didn't want to be in his shadow. But it is kind of a joke. The original Rocky is like he's just sort of an afterthought in the movies, like when he's an actual kid.
Well, I understand the shadow part, but you could still like call him on the phone, and like your grandkid doesn't recognize you, like at all, or they know who you are. Like
in our heads,
that's hard.
We asked for it to be that way. That's how we are okay with it. Maybe.
Yeah, well, we'll get into the.
I'm changing my opinion now after what Louise said. I forgot how shitty of a father Rocky was before. So,
well, keep in mind.
No, but I still like it.
keep in mind, we don't know. Here I am defending Rocky like a mark. But yeah, we don't know what wasn't filmed. Like all the conversations, think of how dynamic a family relationship is. We can only fill in the gaps of the conversations they had as father and son. Maybe they had a better relationship than we were even led to believe, but family's difficult, and Rocky's a very, very, very old school. He didn't even have, well, from what we can gather, his father was jailed or abandoned him as a son. He didn't know how to be a father. He just knew how to be a boxer. He even said to Adrian, "It's all I know. Fighting's all I know." He didn't know how to be a father. So is that his fault? So was he a bad father? Well, maybe, but how much of that is, not say his fault, but he didn't know what a father did compared to other people. And then Robert, bless his heart, he figured it out and broke that chain, which is up to every generation. When you have a bad parent or whatever mistakes your parents made, the whole idea is to break the chain of events. That's the idea. And I tell my kids all the time, be a better parent than me. My parents told me the same thing. I remember when my mom would say to me when I was a kid, "I want you to be a better dad than I am a mom," or, and I'm like, "What do you mean? You're mom? How could your mom?" And nobody's better than mom. But I now, as a parent, I understand what she's saying. Like, don't make the mistakes I've made, and you're gonna say the same things to your kids. Don't make the mistakes I made. So Robert's didn't make the mistakes his father made. So to Robert's credit, he's the real hero to allow that healing to take place. All right, Patrick.
My parents always told me I could still hear you saying you would never break the chain.
Oh. You're continuing the chain of
Sorry, that's a Fleetwood Mac song.
I was gonna
There's a Fleetwood Mac song called The Chain.
I actually was gonna ask you if that's what it was, because you guys make fun of me. I don't know anything. But I didn't want to embarrass myself.
That was the reference. I didn't know, Katie, so there you go. All right, Patrick, what's your favorite false ending?
Well, first I want to talk about Rocky being a bad father. I think he is a bad father in these movies. The thing is that, after analyzing these films, he's a bad father. But when writing the script and shooting these movies, did Sly really think that his fatherhood comes across that way? You analyze all these movies, you think, well, he's a bad father. He doesn't care about his kid that much. But I think that when he was writing the stuff, was he really thinking, well, I make Rocky a bad father? I don't know about that. But he is, of course. He is after seeing these movies. But about the endings, well, I think every ending has its moments. I very much like Measure of a Man from Elton John in 5. I liked, of course, this climbing up the steps with Adonis in the first Creed. I think the ending in Creed 2 is very, very touching when he sees his grandkid for the first time, and then his emotional voice is choking, like, "You look like your just like your mother." I think my favorite ending is the one from Rocky Balboa, not this montage with all these people running up the steps, because for me the ending of Rocky Balboa is like two scenes. The first one, of course, is when he's waving goodbye to Adrian at the gravestone.
Yeah.
But the scene exactly before that is when he's walking out of the arena, and then he's standing there and he's waving to the fans. And I read somewhere that that was the moment when Sly, the actor himself, thought, well, this is probably the last moment I am Rocky Balboa. I fulfilled my dream after then 16 years. Wanting to do this last movie, and he could do that. And I think it was at the beginning of the filming when they did the fight, and he's standing there. He's waving to the fans, and then Burt Young and I think Milo Ventimiglia, they pushed him back. They pushed back Sly, I think, saying, "Go back and show yourself to the fans again." And so I think this scene, together with this waving goodbye to Adrian combined, I think, is my favorite Rocky ending. Yes.
Oh, great, boy! It's just hard to pick, because they're all wonderful in their own little packaged part, or when you're watching the film. Yeah, that's great. I wanted to mention though, Patrick, you brought up a good point about Sly when he wrote the films. Did he intend for us as a viewer to think the thoughts that Rocky, the character, is a bad father. And I don't know if that's just a lack of insight in his writing, which he does have the tendency to do, that his lack of writing Rocky as a father made it so Rocky's a bad father, but it wasn't Sly's intention to make Rocky a bad. So is this a question of Sly being not a complete writer regarding Rocky's fatherhood, or was this intentional to showcase Rocky? Now, Rocky 5 was the best showcase for the argument that he was a bad father. Everyone jokes about him going to Russia. Look, I'm leaving his son behind. He had more than enough help at the house. We know that he had kitchen staff and maids and nannies there. So I hate it when people say the robot was there with the kid. The robot was there with the kid, but he wasn't raising the kid. And I'm a sailor in the Navy, right? And I go away all the time from my family. And so does that make me a bad father because I have a job that employs me outside of my home for months at a time? So Rocky had a job outside the home for a few months. It's not a big deal. But I think the biggest evidence that he was not a great father was Rocky 5. But even in that film, he recognized his faults. And it dawned on him, like, oh, I'm losing my son. Even when, of course, Adrian says, you're losing your family. You're focusing, again, we know boxing. We know that you love boxing, but you're losing your family. So when Rocky recognized, oh, I'm losing my son, he tried. And then Rocky Balboa, he tried to visit his son, say, hey, come to the grave, come see these things. I don't know if he was a bad father. I think it may have been Sly's writing wasn't that great regarding Rocky's parenting.
You know how Rocky's movies, though, always kind of imitate something that's actually happening in real life, though?
Yeah,
and you were speaking several episodes ago, like last season, about Sage, in how like his speech to Robert on the corner there was kind of like him talking to Sage too. Mm-hmm. And so like I have a feeling like kind of what you were saying before, Sly had problems with his son a lot. And I'm not saying Sly is necessarily a bad father. I'm not saying that, but I think that him writing himself as a bad father may reflect some of his guilt, maybe about his fatherhood.
Yeah, he was flawed. He was flawed. Yeah, he was a flawed father in real life, probably the same way I am, that we all are in our own right. But yeah, he might have had that idea that he's kind of dumping his guilt of being a bad parent throughout the years as a superstar into the films, and especially part 6 with him talking. But yeah, I think part 5 might have been his saying like, I'm not that great of a father to Sage, and Sage then played the son in part 5. I think I read somewhere that some of the stuff that Sage was saying was some of the things that had been said in private, like, you're ignoring me, I'm your son type dialogue stuff. And Sage had it was great, very therapeutic for father and son to have that moment on screen. And then in part 6, you could almost argue is Sly's therapy going back on the character of the son, saying, I might cast a big shadow, but life isn't, sunshine and rainbows. It's up to you to pick yourself up and move forward. It's got nothing to do with me. So I don't know. Sly's a complicated character, and his family life, we talked about the show, is very complicated. If you wouldn't know that he ever had a family before the one that he has now. So I don't know. We've talked about that.
I think that we probably put more stock into analyzing this than, I wouldn't say than he does, but like, at the time of these movies being made, I don't think that he could have like foreseen podcasts being about it, like that we can rewatch it with subtitles and really like pick it apart. And so I just honestly don't think he thought that much about it.
Well, we've got proof of that. If you guys remember, if you remember when I got the answer about the zoo scene, and I don't know if you guys remember that, Derek Wayne Johnson asked Sly on my behalf, like, hey, when you wrote Rocky 2 and you had Adrian propose to when Rocky proposed to Adrian at the zoo, did you remember in part 1 where you said that you took retards to the zoo? And Sly's response was, I didn't even make the connection. We picked the zoo because we liked how it looked. There was nobody there. We thought the snow looked cool with the tiger, and we thought it was a cool location. He totally forgot he wrote that in part 1. So
it's crazy.
Yeah. And he actually said that he's never been asked that question before, which I find amazing. Maybe no one's been brave enough.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It seems so obvious, right?
He said this was like Derek actually asked on my behalf. I actually got one question asked by the big man himself, asking answers. That was the question I had was, why would you write Adrian at the zoo? And he goes, I forgot. I didn't even make the connection. So you're probably right, Katie. Like, they move on to other projects. One of my favorite authors is this is totally off same idea, but I have an author. He writes this big fantasy series called the Wheel of Time fantasy series, and a lot of characters and stuff. And he was asked at one of these meet and greets stuff like, "Hey, on the introduction to book 5, you had this character. You never named the character. It was like a whole like thick prologue on this character. Who was the bad guy in the scene?" He goes, "I don't know. I forget." So the author of the story didn't even remember. Like I never gave him a name. I don't remember who he was. So often fans, nerds, Star Wars nerds, Star Trek nerds, Rocky nerds, we're always diving deep, and the authors of the stuff are like, geez, man, like it's just entertainment. You guys are delving too deep. But that's our right, and that's our fun to do that. So you're right. Sly me, been like, at that time I was writing about father-son issues, but I don't feel that way now. Move on. So, but that's okay. That's what makes us nerds. Luis, you had something to say there. You had your hand up.
I think to the point of what you guys were saying with the Zeus, seeing how he was, wasn't aware, the significance of it with the comment from the previous movie. I think what he doesn't write is also kind of telling of how he thinks, right? Because he writes the scenes in Rocky 2, 3, 4 with the children, especially 3 and 4, like they just go to L.A., leave the kid there with the help. Rocky 4, go to Russia, leave the kid there with the help. Let the kid grow 5 years in a matter of time. However that worked out. So it's like, even if he's not thinking about,
the kid's always an afterthought.
Yeah, exactly. So he's negligent. So he's still negligent.
That's fair.
So even if, in real life he probably was, negligent with his child, and if already been his life, right?
Well, from what little I know about Sly's family life, his father left their family at a young age, so there was a little bit of that too. So Sly himself.
The movie's not about the kid.
No, it's a Rocky film. It's not about the kid.
Yeah.
Patrick?
Yeah, but I think there is a very great scene between Rocky and his kid, and that is in Rocky 4, I think, when he's lying on the bed with the kid, and the kid says, "Are you afraid?" or something like this, and Rocky says, "Yeah, I'm afraid, but there are 2 sides, and there's another side in me, and it's going one more round, even if you think you cannot." I think this is a very great scene between Rocky and his kid. I always like this scene in Rocky 4. It's more of a quiet one compared to the rest of the movie, but I still think that he was writing all these movies and things. Yeah, the kid was an afterthought. That's right. But I think if you ask Sly now, just with the same with the zoo thing, if you ask him now, don't you see that Rocky is not that great of a father? Maybe Sly would say, well, yeah. If I look at all these movies right now and all these scenes, you're probably right. Oh, my English. You're probably right. And but at the time, he was like, these were maybe just scenes where it didn't connected all the stuff from all these 8 movies.
All right, awesome thoughts. Well, we're already hitting the hour mark, so we're going to close up pretty soon. I can't believe it. This has actually been really, really great discussions. Before we close our season finale of season 7, before we roll into Creed 2, I'm just going to ask our guests, and you can answer it truthfully. You don't have to say it just for us, but I want to hear from Paul first, then Louise, then Patrick. Are you guys intending to stick around when we decide to cover the Rambo franchise? And what are your thoughts on the Rambo franchise? I'm just curious if there's a crossover between, is it just Rocky fandom or is it Sly fandom? Paul?
I have not seen any of the Rambo movies.
What? Are you serious?
But I really like your podcast.
Yes.
I'll
yes.
I'll watch it and I'll go through the podcast with you guys, of course.
That's awesome. Okay, well, it's actually very kind of interesting. I'm intrigued by that. How old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
I'll be 35 in March. You
haven't seen any of the Rambo films?
Not a one.
So how did you get into the Rocky films then? Like, did you tell me how you got into them?
I was 4 when Rocky 5 came out. I'm not real sure even when I saw the first one, but I was an athlete, and so I always was able to kind of have a correlation between my baseball career and what was going on with Rocky, because I was the smaller, not as talented, but I always felt like I could work hard enough to make the team or beat the bigger, better athletes. So I always just kind of had a correlation with the Rocky series. But Rambo is just, I've just never watched it.
That's just very interesting. That's very interesting. Well, I invite anyone that's listening to the show who's like Paul, who hasn't seen the Rambo films, to watch them. I'd recommend watching First Blood, and when you start with season 1, and I think you'll find yourself enjoying them a little bit more than you would think. I would think you like action films in general, or do you like?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's a totally different character, and I will say this about Sly. People often, not to get too ahead of our First Blood coverage, but the amazing thing about Sly is every time I watch Rambo, I don't see Rocky at all. And every time I watch Rocky, I never see Rambo. So he does an incredible job of portraying these two characters completely, and they're really 180 from each other. You don't want, Rocky's Rocky, like if you're a girl, Rocky's the one you marry, but Rambo's the one you cheat on with. He's the bad
I
boy.
look forward to watching and listening with you guys.
Yeah,
Sure.
great. Thanks, Paul. Louise?
Oh yeah, brother, I'm here to the end. I'm riding all the way, man. I mean, I love the movies, but I love your podcast. I listen to the worst, the best when I can. It's getting a little harder now with more work responsibilities, man. Like as a matter of fact, for this season, I had to binge to catch up because I love the videos. I fell in love with the unedited videos. It's just so much more content, So it's okay, I love hearing you guys just riff on stuff, and so I just was okay, I'm only watching the videos, but then work caught up. So then I got in a situation where I had to watch the videos, all at once, kind of binge watch. But yeah, of course, man, I'm here to the end. Gonna watch all the I'm gonna be around for all the Rambos and whatever else you do, man, for sure.
Oh, you're a good man, Luis. Boy, if we could just get 100 more of you, we might get our 40 Patreon goal. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind. And yeah, again, for a Patreon, you can for as little as $1 a month, you can get those unedited riffs. Like I said, like Louis kind of hinted at, sometimes Kyle, especially Kyle, he'll say and do things that don't make it onto the iTunes feed. To keep our content PG-13, I got to edit Kyle the most. And I say jokes that I don't want my work to hear. No, I'm just joking. Okay, and Patrick, your thoughts on Rambo in the podcast?
Yeah, I'll stick around for sure. I mean, I love Rambo. I'm more of a Rocky guy than a Rambo guy, but still, I love all the 5 movies. Including number 5, who a lot of people didn't like. I liked it a lot, and of course, I'm there all the way.
All right, and I noticed there, Patrick, you've got.
This makes you want to do Rambo episodes now.
Say again, there, Kyle.
Sorry, Ryan. This makes you want to do Rambo episodes now.
Well,
I know I said I was gonna kind of do them, but now I'm motivated because I've only seen the First Blood. Is that the first one?
Yes.
Yes, I saw that once, and then the first Rambo I ever saw was the second one when I was a kid.
That's kind of
And then years later, I saw the first one, and that's the only ones I've seen.
That's crazy.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've never been into Rambo, but I'll be willing to watch it. I have a weird fascination with the Vietnam War, though. So considering Rambo's a Vietnam vet.
I always say this about Rocky. Rocky pulls at the heartstrings and Rambo tears them out. So that's how I separate the two. And I love, it's funny. I think I'm the Kyle of the Rambo series in that I geek out about Rambo. I love Rocky. Rocky is emotionally more satisfying, but there's things about the Rambo franchise, especially the first one, the Rambo First Blood. There's some parts that you get teared up on, but the Rambo films are just exciting and they're fun, and they have a lore of their own, quite frankly, and I actually quite enjoy them. I think I geek out more about the Rambo films than Rocky, quite frankly. I nerd out with Rocky, but I geek out with Rambo.
Okay, well, I'm doing it, man. I'm gonna be in on this Rambo shit then.
I hear the opening chords of First Blood are ringing through my head right now. The acoustic guitar playing with that horn music playing. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, that intro music by Jerry Goldsmith. That's just beautiful, beautiful. I kid you not, man. Jerry Goldsmith is the Bill Conti of the Rambo franchise. He just makes beautiful music in that. Oh, anyways, I'm getting all excited.
Can I say that it's awesome that Kyle is leaning toward doing the Rambo, because I think Kyle, you're gonna love it, man. Because Rambo is so ridiculous, especially once you start getting toward the higher kill count, certain situations. I'm gonna love to hear your take on this stuff, man. It's just so ridiculous.
We should do a drinking game that involves killing scenes or something like that for from Rambo.
We'll be drunk.
Great idea.
We'll be drunk. Well, if I don't want to spoil anything, I don't want to because Paul hasn't seen part 1. I don't want to say or any of them, so I don't want to spoil anything for any of our listeners. Okay, well, we're gonna close up. I think it would be nice if the 3 guests. First, I want to say thank you to Paul, Patrick, and Louise. Thank you for joining the live chat. I think we did okay. I think we did just fine, and you guys did great on the mic, especially for some of you first timers. We appreciate all of the emails from everyone that sent us emails. We encourage you guys to, if you haven't already, go to iTunes, please. Really, this is my plea to those numbers. I see the numbers every week, and I'm telling you, if just half of you left us a review on iTunes, it would give us a little bit of a bump. It really would, especially if everyone did it at once. If you go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and even just in the comment section, write great something, and then it bumps us up the ladder a little bit. It gives us a bit of a listen bump. For as $1, low as $1 a month, you get early releases, video feeds, and I'm going to try. If I get more patrons, I'll do more videos just for patrons. Right now, I won't say it's not worth. It's not the point, but it's a lot of work to do these videos. But if more patrons come in, I would love to do like stuff just for the patrons, of course. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook group, email us. We appreciate everything. Paul, Patrick, and Louise, do you guys want to give us the ding ding all together? I know it's corny, but I would like to hear it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a
do a countdown.
Yeah, I'll do a countdown. And it'll be edited accordingly for the iTunes. Okay, so here we go. Ding ding from these 3. 3, 2, 1.
Ding,
Ding, ding.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure having you guys on the show. It really was. And before
It's
we
really
go,
nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, so we'll end it right here. But
Nice to meet you.
I just want to say, Patrick, I really like the artwork, and Louise, you got artwork behind you as well there. It looks like
Yes,
Paul, you got artwork too. Sorry, we'll start. Looks like Paul, your baseball artwork. Is that what I see behind you?
This is actually I was a graphics major in college, and my department did our mascot in all the different sports. So there's track, football, basketball, baseball. Yeah, that's all of them.
Okay, that's awesome.
Cool.
They did it as a fundraiser in like the mid '80s, and I graduated in 2008. And we just bought the prints, but my best friend growing up's dad was on the team that put all those together. And then the lady that drew him is actually an author here in South Carolina. So a lot of ties to him.
That's awesome. And then Louise, what do you got there?
Oh no, just the the Rocky from Rocky 1. The celebratory pose after he successfully climbs the steps. I got that like about a year ago. I also got a Schwarzenegger one. It says Conquer. So I'm a Schwarzenegger guy too. Yeah, I just wanted to say once again, thank you guys for having me on. Katie's been awesome in her role. Kyle's awesome, of course. Ryan, of course, you're the man. I thought Patrick and Paul were awesome today too. They had some great points. Patrick really brought up that great point with about the talking about his dad, expounding on the point that I brought up. So I thought that was awesome. I never thought about it that way. And also, Kyle, Ryan, I want to say good luck to you and all the best fortune, man, on your upcoming deployment.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so 21, it's going to be a bit. Yeah, it'll be sporadic episodes, so be patient, guys. And I'll mention that in future recordings. But yeah, I'm going to be deployed half the year later this year, so bit of a break for the podcast. But yeah, Patrick, what artwork do you have there?
Well, these are actually two oil paintings. Sometimes I'm on the Stallone Zone fan forum, and there's an artist called Bill Pruitt, and he painted these paintings and showed them to Sly even. So and we told about that or written about that. And then he said that he does commissions. So I wrote an email to him and said, would you paint two paintings for me? And then you can send him some little pictures from the thing you want him to paint and the kind of the style he should paint. And then he did that. And and then he sent them to Germany. So and that was after Creed 1. So I was so in this Creed 1 hype that I said, I have to get these.
Are those originals?
These are originals, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Those are amazing. Can you? You don't have to right now, but can you take like a close-up picture of them and send them? Okay.
I'll send them to you. Right.
Yeah, because I know who Bill Pruitt is. I've from Twitter and stuff. So that's amazing. Those are originals. So you told them you wanted those painted.
Yes. I wanted these two. I mean, I'm sitting in the living room right now, and I asked my wife, "Well, if I have these two paintings, can I have a Rambo and a Rocky one?" And she said, "No way, only Rocky in our living room." And then I thought, well, which two motives I want to have? I wanted some fight motive and then some training stuff. And because of Rocky Balboa is my favorite movie, I chose that one. Him running up.
I really like that.
Yes, and then of course Rocky 3 with Clubber, who is a caricature. Yeah, yes, he is, but still he's a badass. I like him. So this was the second one, and yeah, and then you could choose the size and the style of his art, and yes, and then he sent them to me. I got them framed, and they're hanging for 5 years now. Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, that's so good. Thank you, everyone, and thank you guys. Kyle, Katie, just hang on. We'll let you three go. We're just gonna talk business without you guys listening, if you know what I mean. But all right, thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Patrick and Paul, and good to see you again, Louise.
Great having you guys.